I have to ask you one more question. This one about Melania. And speaking of performative, the word that you just used, what did you make of Melania taking that weird photo op today in front of a Christmas tree? We have her on recordings, as you've heard in the past, of her kind of mocking Christmas to an extent. What did you make of that? It just looked so forced and so just weird. What did you make of that today?
Everything she does is that way. I mean, I've probably watched every one of her public events for the last 5 years since they left the White House. A lot of them are at Mar-a-Lago. I watched her do a few different things with the gay Republican group, with the swearing in some immigrant ceremony, like everything she does is very awkward, very forced.
You're sounding like their sex life, Ron.
Like, I don't want to make fun of like people who, I'm not trying to make fun of people who can't speak English, but how long has she been in this country, married to an American with an American son? Like 30 years, and she still can't speak English. She reads everything. Her vocabulary is like 12 words. I mean, you would think like after 30 years, you would learn the language of the country that you're surrounded by. It's not like she's just visiting, but everything she does comes off as like a contractually obligated arrangement, where she's sort of forced to go through it. You could tell she doesn't really want to be there. Her whole life is just like pretending to be happy, and like it becomes increasingly in public, and it becomes increasingly difficult for her to hide that she's not. That's the feeling that I get every time I watch her. And the other weird thing is like MAGA reaction to her, because MAGA has her on the highest pedestal, and they are absolutely convinced that like the two of them are lovebirds, and they're having a love affair for the ages, and they adore each other, right? When it's so obvious to like any non-cultist that she loathes him, that she can't stand him, but it's part of her. Not that she's like good and he's bad. They're just different shades of the badness. But it's obvious that she can't stand him, because every time sort of he turns around or she doesn't think she's on camera, her whole expression changes.
And she won't even hold his hand. She won't even hold his hand or kiss him.
We know from we know from recordings, she doesn't sleep in the same room, by the way. And we know from recordings that, Melania hates Christmas. She's not into it. She's not into the holidays. She's not a festive person. But now she's back in the White House, so she once again has to pretend to like Christmas. I remember when, I can't ever remember the two of them together on a Christmas, Melania and Trump, outside the White House. Because every Christmas, I always check in, what are they doing? Because I always want to know, is Trump going to church? And the answer is no, he is never going to church on Easter or Christmas. So I always check that. And Melania is always like in New York and he's in Palm Beach. They're never together on holidays.
But the excuse is she's taking care of Barron. Isn't that the excuse as to why she's not in the White House? That's the excuse.
But I think that even Barron doesn't live with her anymore. I think he's
in college.
He was in college, but I don't think he's in college anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Because I think he made his like $40 million on crypto, and I don't think he's going to class anymore. I think he moved to DC or something, moved back, and she's mostly in New York. But again, she comes back for the things that are in her prenuptial agreement. I'm sure she has written in there that she has to do a certain number of appearances a year and pretend to like him.
Ron, it sounds to me like you haven't bought her book. Is that a fair assumption?
I wonder who has. I mean,
it doesn't sound like you bought her Christmas ornaments either.
Hey, Ron, the crazy thing is, like, how like when you do an autobiography, almost everybody, when they do the audio book, reads their own book.
Right.
She used AI.
She didn't even do it.
She didn't read her own book, her own audio book. And she didn't. And I could see like, okay, maybe you'd like hire someone with a Slovenian accent to sort of sound like you. She used AI to do her audio book. It's not even like human being.
Yeah, I did read that too, and that was a little bit surprising to me. But I guess because you mentioned she only has about 12 words that she uses, so I tend to not be surprised at that.